really practical things if you're an English teacher. So this really just applies to many different things. So hello from Oxford. I'm Shelley Terrell, and today we're going to talk about video projects for language learners. And the reason we're here today is because American TESOL presents these free Friday webinars. So every Friday you can bring your friends, and it's absolutely free. It's the same address, and you can find several different topics. All of them you'll find with this bit.ly address. So the bit.ly/ELT links, and you'll find several different resources, from podcasting to doing forensic science with language learners to doing digital storytelling, and today video projects. One of the great things about video projects is that it's not really high tech as much as the other ones. You don't have to have a whole bunch of tools, but it's really great to have some tools. So some of the things you may have right now, and that's a good question. In the chat box, type if you use video, if you've done a video project with your language learners. And by video projects, I mean it could be one video. It doesn't have to be everyone has a video. It could be that. But it could be just you creating like a movie or a film or something with your students. So these are some of the hardware that you might find useful for this. So we talked about the hardware, and the hardware you'll find is, you will have maybe a flip camera. You can also do a digital camera. You can also have your cell phone these days. You can even record from your computer. With my MacBook, one of the reasons I got the MacBook is because there were so many things that I could do with it. I can record me just straight from, there's Photo Booth, and Photo Booth will do like different recordings if I want to do a video diary or something. But these are some of the things you might find useful. If you have just like a digital camera, or your students have a digital camera, you have a laptop, and you can have a station full of just one of these types of computers or laptops. And this is so that way you can have the software and stuff to edit the videos when you're creating videos. And you can make very high-tech videos, or you can make something that's very low-tech. And what I mean by low-tech is it could be something like a scanner. You see a scanner here. And one of the things I like to do with my young learners, 4-year-olds, is I like to scan pictures that they make. So then they can make, for example, like a stop-motion video or something. But also, you can find a lot of different types of software with your computer. So it depends what kind of computer you have, but you may have some of these softwares that you might notice. And for most of us, a lot of us have PCs. Now, I have a Mac, so these are some of the tools I like to use to edit my videos. I like iMovie, there's Photo Booth, there's iPhoto to edit photos. There's also GarageBand, so I can edit the sound, so I can create different sounds as well. It comes with sound samples. It's great to get your students to do sound samples by themselves for the movie. That's one of the great things you can do with it. But also you can have them, you can go from the sample library there, and then you can add different effects and things like that. The same thing with Windows Movie Maker or Audacity or Paint Shop. You can have transitions. The great thing about using an online video editor, and these are free, these usually come with the computer. So if you check on your computer, you'll find these different types of tools. And then you can do things like cool animation, or you can do credits and things like that. So the students tend to love to play with this. And I like my students to play with the software. And then they can show me, they can teach me. So you don't necessarily have to be an expert at the software. You can have your students be the experts. So now that you know the hardware and software, let's get to the good part. What are your options? What can you do with video? Well, there's so much you can do with video. But one of the things you want to think about is you can do video projects for each subject that you have. So when you think about this, you can have it where it's an individual project. It could be something that each student has to take care of themselves. You can do it in pairs. I think it's always better when students collaborate. And because we teach language, it's really important, I think, to pair students or put them in groups, because then they're forced to create dialogues and have that constant language. And this takes problem solving and critical thinking skills, because they talk to each other. And when they talk to each other, then they get to make decisions with each other. And this is different types of English that they have to come from, it comes from their head. It's something they think about when they brainstorm and things like this. Now, I have my students in groups. So usually they'll be, if they're working together, then they're welcome to sit together on the floor and talk about things, or they're welcome to sit in tables facing each other. So you have 2 desks here, 2 desks here, and I like to group them in 4s. When I group them, I make sure that I give them tasks and responsibilities. So in the chat box, what are some different types of tasks that come with creating a video? What are things that you have to do for creating a video? Some of you may have typed inside the chat box that you have, where you have editing, you have writing the script, characterization, props. If you have characters, then somebody who's very artistic can design the costumes. Now, even though these are hands-on and creative, like doing drawings and animation, these are all part of creating a video. That's why it's so exciting and interesting. You have someone that's the director. You can add language to each of these. So even though somebody's creating a costume, then I have them write down directions. I have them write down, for example, what they're brainstorming. I have them write the designs and things like that. So there's labeling involved and things like this. So this is all ways to have, even when it's creative, to have that language component in there. When I have them work in groups, I facilitate. So I walk around to each group and I just make sure if they have questions, they can ask me. The other great thing about walking around and looking at the groups is you can make sure they speak English. So that's very good. Now, I don't get mad if they don't speak English. Sometimes these things are kind of difficult. But the great thing is they're thinking in English as well. So even if they might use a few words in their primary language, they're still thinking in English, and the majority is in English. So that's what I prefer. Now, if you do an entire class movie, let's say you decide to do a class movie, then what you can do is you can have the groups do a scene each, or you can have pairs do a scene each, and then put the movie together as a whole. So that's the way I would do, like, for example, class project, a class movie. Okay, so we talked about that. These are some of the things that you might see when you're creating a video, okay? So the first step is get your students to brainstorm. What kind of a video do they want to do? Think of the type. They have to think of the setting, the theme, the story title, the characters, the plot, the materials. So all of this is a lot of different language that comes with it. It's specific vocabulary that comes out. So this is all part of the brainstorming process. And this is the great thing about brainstorming, is that it uses a lot of what's called cognition. And what cognition is you may have heard of Vygotsky's social cognitive theory. And Vygotsky says basically that the way we learn things and the way that it goes in permanent storage for a long time is one of the things that we do is when it comes from our experiences and our knowledge and vocabulary that's already there. So brainstorming gives us this ability because it's instant. We have to think. And so what I like to do is have each student get, for example, they can do this on a Google Doc too if you want to save materials and if you have access to computers. But if you don't, get large pieces of butcher paper and then have the students brainstorm there, the characters, the plots, and things like that. This is what it might look like, okay? So here's Kevin Hodgson does some great things at this website right here. It's called stopmotionmovies.yolasite.com. And you can print out these worksheets here, and you can give them to your students to complete in class. These are ways to just organize the information of a movie that you make. So, for example, what is the setting of the story? Where does it take place? What is the problem facing your characters? And notice how it's separated. So it's like a graphic organizer. And your students, if they're really young students, then you can just have them draw in the setting. For example, with my 4 to 6-year-olds, then I just have them color the setting or make a quick drawing and then ask them questions. Oh, what is that? Look over and say, is that a mountain or is that the beach? And these are really simple language that you can use with your students, your young learners, if they're beginners. What is the problem facing your characters? So they might, for example, older students or even adults would be able to do something like draw a conflict or draw fighting and you would be so surprised because they really come up with some great ideas. I mean, a lot of times they do things or they draw things that they see every day. So, for example, if they fought with their brother, they may have a boy and a girl fighting, and then they could say, this is the sister. When I ask them with their drawings, they get so excited and they tell me, they're like, well, this girl she is fighting with her brother, or they start telling me the problems because she took her toy. And so it's really great when you get them to draw the things. Here's another one that talks about character development. So this could be an ongoing long project that you do with these kind of worksheets. Now, you don't have to use this as a basis, but I really think that this is a good basis if you make a very long-term project. You don't have to make a long-term project, and we'll talk about those too. So you can write down the group members' names, the title of the story, and all of them have to agree on this. So, for example, with the title of the story, they would all vote and they would suggest different titles, and all of this is in English. Characters, what are their names? What do they look like? What are some of their characteristics? So you get into a lot of like adjectives, personal adjectives, things like, oh, she has brown hair. And if they're drawing it, then I ask them specific details. Oh, really? What color are her eyes? Oh, how tall is she? And so I ask these questions, and that way they also learn how to ask these questions as well. This is a drawing that some of the kids did. This is what's called a storyboard. And what it is usually when you talk about movies and making a movie, that you talk about what's called a frame. So each frame is a scene inside this movie. So you have frame number 1, and all of these you can download. Right here it's dogtracks.edublogs.org. But you can, or just even if you Google Kevin Hodgson, you'll find this. But you can also find it in the bit.ly address as well. So in the first frame, they'll draw or they'll put a diagram or picture of what they're envisioning, what they're seeing. And one person can be the person who does this, while everybody in the group is trying to describe to that person what they see inside the first scene. This is an incredible way to have language learning, because what happens is the person who is the drawer, I used to have this one student, and he was so shy, but he was a great drawer. He is so great at drawing. And so when the other students would tell him, oh, well, this is what I see. There's a girl, there's a boy, then he would draw this. And this is still processing the language. He, even though he wasn't speaking, there was something that he was really good at, and he was so excited to do, and he felt, really great about doing it because he's very shy. And it got him out of his shell because we celebrated something that he was really good at, which was drawing. But he had to process that English. He had to listen to what his classmate described, and he had to put it into an image. So that is also language learning. So it's not necessarily always speaking. There are other elements that are part of language learning. And then somebody does the narration. Okay, and the narration, we mean by that is what they're going to be saying, the script. So this is just like the first step of that. But it doesn't have to be specific in the actual movie, but it really helps organize a movie. Here's another type of storyboarding template. You can have, for example, scene 1, scene 2, the transition. A transition, for example, let's say you're doing Windows Movie Maker. then they might want to have something like, you see it in PowerPoint as well. It's like diamond and it breaks away, or fade, or a boom, or something like that. So this is what they mean by transition. A voiceover text, if you're doing something where, let's say you're doing an animation like a cartoon or something, because you can have your students draw and you can take pictures of it, and then the student can go and they can add the voice of the characters later, just like when we see Toy Story or something like that. That's exactly how they make those kind of movies too, you know. So the kids can do something as well with that. And then you can have your sound and music, and we're going to talk about um, Creative Commons. So make sure when you do have sound and when you do have music, I see a lot of times with language learners and their videos, I see a lot of times how, unfortunately, there's music in it that's been copyrighted, and so we can't use the popular, music that they want to use. But there are great songs out there on places like ccmixter.org, Free Sound. Also, I think there's another one called SoundCloud. SoundCloud is the other one. And all of these places, you can find music that, that you can actually show and then you can publish, because you can get in trouble if you don't teach them about copyright. And there's a lot of places where you can get free images. Like, for example, you can go to Flickr.com, and I have some other ones that I use as well. But Flickr is a great place to find free Creative Commons ones as well. Okay, so let's talk about your ideas. So if in the chat box, let me look at the chat box really quick, and then I'll put this back up. But in the chat box, how many of you use, what are the ideas, ways that you use storytelling with your students? Like, what are some of the cool projects you have done with your students? It could be anything. It could even be them just video recording something, because even, with the video project, it doesn't have to be something really complicated or long or anything like that. I can share with you some of the ones that I have done with my students, some of the ideas. So let me get the PowerPoint back up again so you can see this. Sorry. Okay, okay. So you can do, one of the things I had my high school students do was a commercial. And what I did was the writing part, and that's one of the things that I suggest, is incorporate your video with something else. You can do it with listening, with writing. You can get all the skills in there: reading, writing, listening. All of those skills can be developed. So one of the commercials that I did was I had my students go and I had them look on YouTube, because YouTube, they have really short 2-minute commercials. And I said, I want you to pick a commercial, like a Nike commercial or something really famous. And I want you to tell me all the stereotypes that they do in the commercial. I want you to pick out all the bad things in this commercial. And they had to be selling a product. So for example, in one of them, they picked out this commercial where it was, they were selling Nike shoes. And there was this basketball player walking down, and he was really tall. And this was some of the comments. They wrote an essay. And in the essay, they wrote about what they saw that they thought was not very good with the commercial. And one of the things was that it was exaggerated, that it stereotyped what a basketball player was and maybe the people around the town. Some other ones talked about how they stereotyped men and women or old people, or how they made promises that, they wouldn't keep. And so after they wrote about this and they thought about it, then they had to remake that commercial, correcting everything they saw as a problem. Now, this was one of my high school students. This was one of their favorite things to do. They really enjoyed writing the essay. They really enjoyed watching the different commercials, and they really enjoyed making the commercial again. And many times, I give them a lot of freedom. So they were allowed to invite their friends that were not in the class to also do the commercial again. And then they just showed us their remade commercials. So this is one thing that they really enjoyed doing. Now, a lot of them had digital cameras. I let them use their phones, because nowadays even if you have like a regular cell phone, students can have like a video in their cell phone. So in your cell phone, I mean, there's so much that you can do just with your cell phone. So a lot of the students are able to do this just with the cell phone. They can make a documentary, which means that, for example, it doesn't, this can be something really fast. Have them, for example, if you have them doing a project, even if it's like a science project, even if it's like an ongoing long-term project, if they just take maybe 60 seconds a day or something like that about this. For example, there was one student, we were doing science projects, and their science project was they had to um, keep up with a spider and every day that the spider built its web and what this web looked like. So they could just take like 5-second video clips or 12 seconds, 30-second video clips every day of the spider making the web. And then they could describe the process. So it could be something very scientific like that. They can describe animals. They can describe all of these. A documentary is something that's real, that's happening there in their surrounding lives. A video cast. A video cast is like a podcast except with videos. You can upload these on YouTube, and then people can subscribe to them. There have been very, very famous video casts out there. A video cast can be, for example, a video diary. And there is a website, I'll show you in a little bit, that's really good with video diaries. And basically, there's one called 12 seconds. And with 12 seconds, you can only record 12 seconds. So it gives you the webcam, and then you record 12 seconds, and it's automatically loaded. It's a free site. There's this other one called a futuristic. And what it is that you are sending videos to your future self. This is the concept of this website. So everybody goes on and does this video diary, and they're basically, this could be left, it's sort of like a time capsule in a way too, because what you do is you're leaving, my older adult students really love this idea, especially the time capsule idea, because what it was is they would record little segments every day, but it was something that they could leave for their children when, in the future. Or we would say, okay, so we made a video once where everybody described the city, something they loved about the city, and we buried it actually under the school and left it as a video time capsule, so that way 20 years from now or something, the school could open it up and look at it, and then they could see all the students talking about something that they really loved about the city. And that's a great idea, because then you can talk about, ooh, what are their reactions going to be when they open the time capsule and things like that. You can do a soap opera. A soap opera is like a mini series. And in a lot of countries, they have very famous soap operas. They have these dramas on TV. And so your students can make this ongoing soap opera, or any type of series. It could be a series on how to do some stuff, like how to do tech stuff, or how to do creative stuff. So anything your students can think of, they can make one. Digital storytelling, where this is stuff like animation, stop motion film. They can do a class movie, a machinima. A machinima is animation or stop motion film. Stop motion film is basically when you record little segments, or you can even scan drawings. It's sort of like a flip book. When you flip a book and you see a little stick man, and then each thing, he like kicks a ball. Well, this is what stop motion film is. You just do it on film. It's like several different types of drawings, or several different types of clips that when put together, they make an entire film. Now, I really like doing this with machinima. And machinima means that you can do this in a virtual world, like Second Life. And the students, what they can do is they can go visit somewhere like a virtual Rome, and they can make a machinima or stop motion film on this virtual world. That's what a machinima is. And if you Google or if you YouTube machinima, you'll see incredible examples students have done that are just mind-blowing and amazing. You can also find them on Vimeo. And then silent films. Silent films are great because you do charades and things like that. And you can think of like Charlie Chaplin. And then, you know, every transition, it's like an exclamation mark of what the character is saying. So these are all ideas that you can do with your students. Some tips. Make sure to assign roles and specific tasks. In order for you to effectively manage this, then, you know, a lot of teachers say, well, I can't do this because, you know, some of the students won't do this and some of them won't do that, or it's a lot of chaos. Well, the way you get away from chaos is put them in groups, make sure each of them has a role and a task, and they get a group grade. If you have to give grades, then give a group grade and have them evaluate each other, how much work they put into it. A lot of kids, if it's for the team and for the group, then they tend to do very, very well. I like to give them the option of, I will say, okay, this is this role. Somebody has to write the script. Somebody has to do the drawings. Somebody has to take care of the props. And usually there's 2 or 3 roles, so each of them has 2 or 3 roles to do. And then I asked who would like to volunteer. If they don't volunteer, that's when I begin assigning roles. The next time that they do this again, then I'll try to differentiate a little bit. But I do like to give students a choice. And if I think that it's a responsible choice and it's something that they're really good at, like it's not just one of those choices where they're lazy and they think that's the easiest thing to do or something, then I'll let them pick. Make sure you get permission from the parents. It's really important that you, because this is going to determine the type of video project you do. This determines whether you do stop motion with their, just with their drawings, or if you do digital storytelling kind of videos with their drawings, or if you actually get the kids to film themselves, which is something that you can do. AUP is an acceptable use policy. This is what the parents agree to do. They might say something like, yes, we will agree to drawings, we will agree to recording voices, but no, we won't agree to their being shown. Or we agree to them being shown, but their face is being marked out. So it's really important you have a conversation with parents and get their permission. Teach Creative Commons. It's very important that even now, even if we think that nobody's going to see this, even if we decide not to publish it online, it's good to teach the kids now where they can get free types of images and sounds and music to use with their videos, because kids love to make videos. They make videos with or without you anyway. A lot of the kids, you might think of your nieces and your nephews. You give them a camera, a video camera, or anything, and they will make their own videos anyway. And a lot of them will use music that is copyrighted. So it's a good idea to teach them about it. Make it available. Okay, so you can publish it to the web. That's what I recommend. But not all teachers can publish it to the web. That's okay. Put it in a CD. That's what I used to do with my students. I used to just burn it on a DVR. Most of them are really cheap. A lot of times you can get like a pack of 100 for like maybe $10, $12. It depends. And I think of it as an investment. And then I just burn it on the computer because it's uploaded to the computer. And then I burn copies. And then they have it. They can keep it at home. And I ask them if they like, you know, if there's... And then the great thing about is when you put in a CD or DVD, then you can put it in a contest. There are a lot of people that have made videos just like this. They didn't publish it online, but they did submit it to a contest, and the contest will often ask for DVD. And then your kids get that extra excitement of sometimes they win or sometimes it's recognized. So that's something that you can do as well, is to put it in contests. So. And make a movie night. Make a movie night where you invite the whole entire school to come and see this live and eat popcorn or something like that and see the films. They can have little short films. In our school, we used to actually have them. We had a short film festival, and each student had like 5 minutes, 10-minute films. And then we would, you know, see these. We would all get together as a community and pretty much eat popcorn or different types of snacks, nachos and stuff. You also have mobile options. These days you have the iPad that will do so much with your videos. But the other thing is, even if you don't have that, if you have like a any kind of a lot of cell phones even will have video editing that you may not know of. So all you do is you get the camera, any type of camera. I have a Droid too, but you do the camera and you click on the camera, and it's really simple. Just make sure that you click the video icon. So I'm going to slide it to video, not picture, but video. And after I record a video, you'll see a red button there, okay? And then so I'll record the video, so I'm recording the video. And then after I stop it, the recording, it'll actually give me the option to go back and to edit it. Let's see if I can. Okay, so all I do is I click on it, and when I click on it, it'll give me the option to delete and edit on the phone. So that's all you have to do with a lot of the phones these days. So you can do it online. But there are certain apps. Unfortunately, a lot of the apps that I've seen, you have to pay for. So that's why I didn't list them in the presentation necessarily. But this is how you do the video editing. There is free versions of apps. One of them is called Puppet Pals. And I'm going to show you Puppet Pals. Puppet Pals is fantastic. And you can get a free version. And Puppet Pals, it looks just like this. And what you do with Puppet Pals is you can create, okay, so you create a video. And basically, you get, with the free version, you get up to 4 characters. Right here you have the Wild West, different things like that. And then you, okay, so after you choose the 4 characters, okay, so I chose my 4 characters. Then I just go to press the arrow. I can choose a backdrop. Okay, I chose the backdrop. And then it gives me instructions on how to use that. And with this one, in order for the kids do voiceovers. So this is the characters I chose. I move them in, I move them out. I press here to record, and I make a real quick movie. The thing about this is, though, that you do need the white earphones. You do need the earphones, the special iPhone earphones, and they're the ones that usually come with your iPod. This is actually an iPod Touch. So you will need that for the kids to record the video, the audio, and to have the voiceover. And it makes a movie right away. So that's one of the great things about this thing, is that you can actually make movies like that, and it'll come out, and it's sort of like a stop motion video. There are other apps. I'll show you another one really quick. There's, of course, Photobabble, but that's more like images, so I don't really like that one. But there's one called Stop Motion. And there's also Animoto. Animoto is a free video editing. They can make quick videos that way as well. And then you also have something like Show You. And you have another one called Everyday Photo. Now, Everyday Photo will take a shot of you every day and then make like a movie after about 6 months or 3 months or a week. So all of these are really, really great apps for making videos. The basic versions are free, but like I said, the premium versions, well, they cost some money. So, okay, so where are we? Okay, so let me go ahead and put this up. Okay, so hopefully you learned a lot today with this presentation. And does anybody have any questions? Or I know I ran by that kind of fast. I'm really sorry about that. And then let me go ahead and get the link for you. You can go to this bit.ly address. And then you can find a lot of the things that, I shared with you today. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Okay, so would anybody like to add anything about what they do, maybe some cool tricks that they know about to do things like make props for the kids, or you can tell the kids to bring props from home. So that's another option as well. Okay.
Hi, good evening, please. Good evening. Just I want to ask you about switching of the voice and ask the student to guess what the movie is about. Did you hear me? Okay. Okay. No. No. بس قولها بس بتحكي بس. ما سمعناش السؤال اللي قالته. ما سمعت. Okay. Sorry, something. There was a problem with the voice. Can you repeat your question? Okay. Sorry, but can you repeat your question?
Let me put the, okay, so let me take up, okay, can you hear it better? I had to quit yours real quick and then you can go back on. I was saying that a great thing to do, that's a good question you raised about what kind of movie, because you can have the students get together and they can talk about the genres. So they can talk about, if they want to do, they can vote on it, do a poll maybe about adventure movie or comedy, or in groups they can each, you can on YouTube that kids have already, they have an idea of some of the cool things they can do. Answer the question. You have the microphone again. With your students, go ahead and share those as well. And Faisal, did you want to say something else or ask another question? Or I don't know if I answered if I answered that question correctly, if that was what you were asking. Well, thank you all too. And you can always catch these once again. I'll put the links here, and you can see things such as video casting, which is also called vodcasting. So you'll see a tab that's called vodcasting. You'll see something on video tutorials, and that'll show you that some of the screen sharing options. And really, really, really good. The other website,
Okay, Shelly, just I wanna say something, Shelly, if you allow me. Do you hear me? Yeah, I want to say that I have a good idea that what is called artistic touch. Yeah, really, the artistic touch that comes some teachers, or if they like that, they can use it with their students, especially with reading text or whatever. Because really, I use it with my students, and really, it allows some shy students they can participate in the class because. The class is not only for high students, I mean strong students or clever students. So this, by using artistic touch, so I can give the opportunity for shy and passive students to share by drawing, for example. But artistic touch, the one that I used, it has some effects, the video effects. You can do it by video effects or what we call sound effects, etc. The artistic touch that can, I mean, change the reading text, which is not interactive. I mean, it's just parent. Just the students can focus on the main events of the text, reading text, and then they can use drawing. They draw the events, and then within the between the events themselves, they can add some video effects or sound effects. Really, students like this. Such a great idea. The second thing I wanna say about digital storytelling, really, I use it with my students. But the thing that really what I want that I can use digital storytelling by my voice. Why? What about the teacher's voice? I can do it by my own voice, or sometimes I can have volunteers from the students. They can do it by their own voices because it will be more realistic. I think that for the students. Thanks a lot, Jason.
Well, I think that's really good, great idea. It's like a way of animating the text when you talk about it that way. When you talk about doing where it's like the students are able um, to do scenes from the text and then also interpret the text that they read, that's really a great idea. That's really fantastic idea there. You can do their voices and make it authentic. I think there's different options. It's good if they can write the script in case you get parents who say that you cannot use their voice. So if you use something where they, even like a silent film or something where they write the script and they use characters that they were drawing and things like that, then this way the students would um, be able to still create a video. But yeah, I think you're right though. If you can use your students, if they can be the main characters, if they can add the language, that's always much better because they have a lot of fun doing that too. And that's a great point too. That not all the students have to be in the video. There can be someone that's a director. They can be holding the camera. They can make the scenes. They can call things about the scene, while the other person is in the video being the actors and actresses. So for a class movie, I don't think you have to force students to do things like that. I think that you can see what they're really good about and what their, like Faiza was saying, artistic touches, and then they can choose because we don't ever want. Well, I don't like to force my students